Okay, today is September 29th, and this is the weekend update. My second weekend update. Let's see if I can keep doing these every weekend. It's actually Friday. The market just closed, and I figured I might as well just knock this thing out right now so I don't forget about it or put it off and not do it. So here we go. So this is our weekend update, and you know what? Something else I'm going to do. I'm going to put Norm Macdonald was one of my favorite comedians. And, he still is, but, he's no longer with us. God rest his soul. But since he did the weekend update so masterfully, like the classic SNL weekend updates, and I'm calling these weekend updates, I'm going to put some, I thought I'd pepper in some of these, some of the old Norm Macdonald comedy bits, into these videos, either at the beginning, for sure at the end, because I want to entice you to watch all the way through to the end of the video. So the really good ones will be at the end of the videos, and maybe throughout the videos I'll just kind of see how it works out when I start to edit this thing, and maybe I already put one up in front of what I'm saying right now, like in the editing process. Maybe you already seen one. If so, good on you, or good on Norm. Let's say good on Norm. All right, anyway, let's get to this. So this is Friday, September 29th. The market just closed, and I'm just going to do a real quick recap of the trades I was in this week. So here's the first one. This is sort of like a butterfly. It's an adjusted butterfly. This is like the Close Encounters of the Third Kind. What is that? The Devil's Tower? I'm going to call this the Devil's Tower trade. It looks kind of like the Devil's Tower, right? Anyway, so this trade, this is a 1 week trade, and we closed it down today. You can see that the profit in this was $1,905, 1,900, and it's fluctuating around, but let's just say $1,900, and there was an adjustment made because we had a pretty good down day, and it was just a butterfly at one point, and then we just we needed to kind of level it out a bit, and so we made the adjustment, turned it into this structure here, this Devil's Tower structure. And then we closed it out, and you can see that the profit in this is $1,934. So that was a good trade. Okay, so now here's the next trade. This is the Big Papa trade. That's what I'm calling this one. And I put these on. I have a couple of these on every week, and usually the duration of these are about 1 to 2 weeks. Sometimes it goes into 3 weeks, but they're pretty quick turnarounds. They're big trades. And this is sort of my main bread and butter, I would say, my main money maker right now. And so this trade here is up $846. And what's nice about these are super robust trades. And what I like about these a lot is that if the market were to crash down, we have a lot of runway here where we're still safe. And not only safe, but we make a good profit. You can see if we were just to come down here, this is 10% down where that dashed line is. So anywhere between here where we're currently trading at and 10% down in this area, you can see that a lot of profit can be made. A lot of profit comes into this trade. And the risk is right down here. But the way that these are constructed, they're super easy. If the underlying, which is the SPX, if the SPX were to take off to the upside, this is where the risk lays in this trade. But it's not something I'm worried about because there's a very simple quick adjustment that can be made that can eliminate that very quickly. And you need to stay on top of them. You can't just totally forget about them, but you don't need to be watching them like a hawk either. You can check in once a day, or even, I would say once even 3 days, and probably be okay with this trade. So this is the Big Papa trade for this week. This is one of them. So this one is about ready to take off, and probably on Monday or Tuesday of next week, this will be ready to take off. Currently it's at $807. Let's look at the other one. I got into another one this last week, so let's take a look at that one. Okay, so here's the next one. This is one I just put on yesterday. So we still have about a week or two and maybe 3 of trade duration for this one before I take it off. But you can see right now it's already up. Again, this was just put on yesterday. We're up about $200 on this. And again, you can see that we have a nice runway to the downside. If there was a down move, we can very quickly get into a good profit here on a down move. On the upside, there's this risk area, as there always is with these trades. But just the way that these are constructed and built, the different options that make up this position, it's very simple to just move a couple of those options around, just kind of switch them out or roll them from one strike to another one, and we can eliminate that risk as long as we're taking, as long as we're taking a look at it. We're not just ignoring it. So that's the second Big Papa trade. That's one I just put on yesterday. That's in duration right now. And then lastly, let's take a look at this one. This is our money glitch trade. This is a trade that was closed out. Well, I let the options expire today. This trade was made up of two different duration options, and so some of them expired today, and then the other two legs of the trade are I just left on. They will expire next week, but we kind of get this free trade scenario here where if there was a rip up, you can see we could get into profit very nicely. Let's take this down to the standard deviation for Monday. So even if this were to go a full standard deviation up, like say a really good move up, it is possible we could pull up to around $3,000 on this trade. And there's no risk on the downside, which is cool about this because these are just long options now and everything's been paid for. And the options that we let expire have totally paid for this position. So this is like a risk-free position. We can take, if it stays right where it's at, we'll wind up with $829 and all the way down. And again, if this thing rips up between now and next week, when these options expire, we have the potential to make up to 3,000-ish. And I doubt the trade would rip up this high, but you can see that there's unlimited profit potential all the way to the upside. More of a realistic scenario would be in the standard deviation band, and an additional profit from anywhere from like 3,000 down to where we're currently at of about 800. So that's our money glitch trade number one. And something I just kind of started to do this week is an additional feature of this trade that I really like is that when we get to this position here where there's only long positions and the initial options that were sold short on the trade, when they expire, and we're just left with two long trades like this, like a risk-free position, at that point it's totally possible to start to sell, like say out of the money call options. We could sell an out of the money spread up here because we have all of this profit potential here to work with, and we could boost this up even more. So it's at 800, but if we have the ability to sell, say like a call credit spread up in this area where I doubt it will reach anyway, we can bring in some additional premium. We can just kind of keep raising this line, just kind of like jacking it up a little bit more while we still have a risk-free position on. So I'm starting to really like these trades a lot as we find additional ways to tweak them and milk more profit out of them while retaining and keeping this risk-free trade. So that's the money glitch trade one that we had on. That one's coming to an end. Let's look at the ones that I put on just this week. Okay, so here is the one we just put on this week. And this trade, you can see that we have worst case scenario in this. We make $200 all the way to the downside. So there's a guaranteed profit all the way down. There's this area here where if there's a rip up next week, this could give us some profits going up. You can see this purple line is the 0-day line. So if we look at the numbers here, it relates to what the profit potential is. So if it rips up to here, we make like $1,000 or more as it moves up. If it totally just blasts up like to infinity, we have a guaranteed profit on the upside of 7,852. And the only real risk in this trade is this area here. It's this droop that I'm always talking about. This is a 1-week trade, and over the duration of next week, it's very possible that this droop will start to droop lower and lower and lower. Especially if the underlying starts to trade up in this area. So that's the position we need to, that's the area of the position we need to just keep an eye on. As of this moment, this is a risk-free trade. It was put on as a risk-free trade, but in reality, it's not. We can't really say it's risk-free because before the trade is over, it's possible that this area here will droop down, and it could droop as low as the break-even line down here and even into a risk area. So it's just a trade we need to watch throughout the week. But if it stays where it's at, or if it moves up to this area, if it even stays on this side of this peak to the downside, we have a guaranteed profit in this trade no matter what. If it rips up here, we have a guaranteed profit of a lot of money. It's $7,000 or so, $7,852. And there's profit potential in this area as well. It's just a matter of the timing when the underline moves into this tent area and how this droop reacts to the passage of time over the next week. But this is a trade we've been put on every week, and we don't ever have a problem with it. We're always aware of that potential risk area, and this is just, as the name implies, the money glitch. This is like a money glitch, or like a money machine. And so I'm starting to ramp these trades up more. I was doing one a week before. I'm going to look at doing a couple a week, just because the risk reward is ridiculous. And it's nice to just have a trade on where you don't have to really worry about Putin putting off a nuclear bomb or some big news event that causes a crash. So if there's a crash, we're totally cool. We're safe. We make money. It's a guaranteed profit to the upside. It's just this little area here we need to be aware of. And if the underlying moves in that area, while it's a potential risk, it's not like we don't have anything we can do. There's a ton of different adjustments and maneuvers we can make, simple adjustments to work our way around that, to navigate that potential issue in the trade. So that's my money glitch trade number 2. And then I have one more money glitch on that we put on this week, which is this one. So this is the second money glitch trade I put on. And this trade here, you can see on the downside, we have a guaranteed profit of $720 if the underlying, the SPX, stays, well, if it tanks over the next week. This is a 1 week duration trade. So if it tanks down to the downside, we have a guaranteed profit of $720. If it rips to the upside, we have all this pink line here is the 0-day line. So as I scroll up that, you can look here and look at the pink number, and you can see the profit potential. This trade's already at a profit of $126. Say if it were to rip up, you can see we get into about $1,000 of profit there, 2,000, 5, all the way up to like a total profit potential on a total blast up to the upside of 8,607. So again, at this moment, this trade is a risk-free trade. There's no risk whatsoever in this trade because we're completely above the break-even line on the risk graph. But as we always say with these trades, there's this droop area here in the middle that we need to be aware of, because this could become a potential risk as the days go by over the next week. It's very possible this droop can droop lower and lower and lower, and even start to droop below the zero break-even line here, where the risk is. So if the underlying moves into this area, we just need to be aware of that and ready to adjust and make just make tweaks to the trade to combat that and adjust our way around it. Now, one of the cool things about this particular setup is if there is a rip up, there's a very a steep slope on the pink line, so we get into profit really quickly, and we have a lot of profit down here to work with as well if there was a crash. But we have so much profit up in this area here. We have 8,607. That with these trades, as I'm just starting to do, and I did the first one this last week, it's a really cool feature is that because it's risk-free, depending on what the market does, say on Monday this trade opens up, or the stock market opens up, and we're right where we're at, we don't go up or we come down, I can adjust this area up here and essentially just take profits from this profit area, which if it moved down, it would start to look like very high probability that it wouldn't make it up into this. So there's no reason for me to waste all this profit potential. So there's a way for me to adjust the trade to move this profit potential down here and boost this line up. And that can be done in a number of different ways with the way that the trade is constructed. But for example, a really simple way is just sell, let's say like sell a call credit spread or several call credit spreads up here and take the premium that it brings in and make the switcheroo is what I call it, when we just basically move the profit potential from one side to the other, and this line will start to come down, but we can do it in such a way so that the upside line, expiration line, stays above zero. In this, say we could do it in such a way so that we have $2,000 or $3,000 of risk left in this area, just in case there was a real quick blast up. But we don't need the rest of that, money between 2,000 and 8,000. So we can just move that over to this area and bring this up. So on the downside, right now the profit potential is 720. With that type of a maneuver where we can just switch it out or switch it over, this could come up to the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 profit potential level. So we're just kind of like a seesaw, we would just kind of tweak it so that this comes down and this comes up, depending on what happens at the beginning of next week. So I'm going into the weekend just thinking that there could be a good move up next week on Monday or Tuesday. And of course, I have no idea if there's going to be. I'm the worst direction picker in the world, but I've just created this trade in such a way so that if I had to guess, that would be my guess. But if I'm wrong, if I'm right, I get rewarded very quickly with this steep profit ramp right there. But if I'm wrong, which I usually am, I can still pull out a great profit out of this trade, especially when I do that switcheroo move where I adjust this in the way where we can take the profit here and pad it over here and bring this line up. So that's it for this week. That's our trades we have on. Again, this is the weekend update. I'm going to find a good clip of Norm Macdonald here to take us out with. And the last thing is, if you like to follow along with me as I make these trades, I'm planning on doing a whole series of trades like this, which are trades that I call anti-gravity trades, where the trades are put on where there's no risk whatsoever like this, or they're tweaked very quickly into the trade, so that we get into an anti-gravity position where there's no risk whatsoever, or as little risk as possible. So there's a bunch of different setups that I'm going to do a series on. So if you want to follow along with me on those, just make sure that you're subscribed to my channel. Just hit the subscribe button below, and you can also join me on my website. And for that, I'll leave a link in the description below. All right, that's it for today. Thanks. We'll see you next week. And here's good old Norm Macdonald.
Hello, everybody. Here with Norm Macdonald, chewing the fat. Where do you live here? Of course, in the city, because you're doing the show.
I live in New York City.
Yeah. This isn't a police interrogation. Are you sure? Where about? Where in the city do you live, approximately, not specifically? But...
I live at 56 between 8th and Broadway.
Okay, and what's your phone number? Just give me 7 digits. All right. What, your neighbors nice people? The people that live around you?
Great people. Every day I meet somebody new, you know. Mm-hmm. This city's great because of the neighborly people, you know. I don't know. But I did meet one neighbor, interesting story, you know, that this guy... He just moved in, you know, next door to me. Mm-hmm. So I'm always one to meet the neighbors.
Yeah. You like to chat with the neighbors, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, so I went over to the guy, I knocked on the door next door to where I live, and I say to the guy, I said, hey, I'm your new neighbor, you know, and I said, good to see you, you know, nice to run into you, you know, welcome to the neighborhood, you know. And so the guy, I said, what do you do for a living there, sir? You know, if you don't mind me asking. You know, what do you do for a living? I'm a nightclub comic, I tell the guy. So he says to me, he says, I work down at the University of Science there. He says, that's
a good school, by the way.
I can't remember the exact place.
Sure.
But he says, I'm a professor of logic.
Oh.
So he says, the guy says, logic. Now, what the hell is that? I never heard tell of that. He says, oh, well, he says it's a kind of a pattern of syllogistic. Well, he says it's hard to explain. He says, why don't I give you an example? So I said, fair enough. Why don't you do that? So the guy says, well, he says, let me ask you a question. He says, do you own a doghouse? So I go, yes, I do. He says, well, then that means you probably have a dog. I said, yes. He says, well, that means you have a family if you have a dog. I said, yes, I do. He said, well, then that means you got kids, you're married. I said, yes, I am. He says, well, then you're a heterosexual man. I said, yes, sir, I am. He says, well, you see, that's logic there. I asked if simply from finding out you had a doghouse, I made this series of inferences, and I found that you're a heterosexual man simply from the fact that you had a doghouse. Well, I said, good God, isn't that something?
Okay.
So I said, well, I won't waste any more of your time there, neighbor. And I said, I'll see you later.
See you around, okay.
So I said, come by one day and have a chicken with me. So anyways, I left. So I left. So I go to get a bus, you know, to the bus stop. And I walk down to the bus stop, and I'm still thinking about this thing that happened to me, you know. And I'm standing at the bus, and no bus coming at all, you know, and 5 or 6 of us standing around, and one guy lights up a cigarette there, and he goes, as soon as you light up a cigarette, the bus comes. And he smokes the whole damn cigarette, no bus comes.
Right.
So I said to the guy, well, that theory really worked, huh?
Yeah.
And the guy goes, well, sometimes it works. Anyways, the guy goes, what's new with you? I go, well, I had an interesting thing happen to me today. I said, I met my neighbor. And he goes, oh, yeah? I go, he had a hell of an interesting job. I said, he's a professor of logic down at the University of
Science. Yeah.
And So the guy says, is that so? He says, Professor of logic. He goes, what the hell is that, logic? I said, well, it's a series of Scylla something or other.
Right.
I said, I can't remember exactly, but I said, I'll give you an example if you want to hear an example.
Yeah.
So the guy goes, all right, fair enough. So I said, let me ask you this. I said, let me ask you a question. Do you own a doghouse? And the guy goes, no, I don't own a doghouse. So the guy says, oh, yeah, you're one of them gays.
And it worked, right? What great stuff you can learn at
Yeah, it
that
was nice.
University of Science there. All right.
And then the guy, and then get this. Get this.
There's more.
This gay guy
Yeah.
invites me to have a chicken at his place.
That's some kind of euphemism.
Yeah, I don't
Watch
know.
out.